Death Stranding 2 is the best movie I've ever played. No, really. And not in a this game feels cinematic kind of way, I mean that quite literally. This game is a movie with gameplay, or maybe it's a movie with gameplay attached. Either way, Kojima is definitely back in full force, threading every needle with monologues, motifs, and metaphors. You sit, you watch, you absorb, then you move a bit, then you sit again, and somehow it works. Mostly. Now, this isn't new for Kojima. At this point, it's almost a meme. The man treats the DualSense like it's a director's clapboard or something. It was only a matter of time before he fully made the leap. With a Death Stranding movie officially in the works, and even an animated film being announced, Kojima isn't just blurring the lines between games and cinema anymore, he's officially crossing it. Now with Death Stranding 2, he might have taken it even further, because upon finishing it, I came out of it wondering, why does Kojima make games this way? And is that actually a good thing? I mean, yes, he's being his most Kojima yet, and sure, that's led to something deeply unique and often beautiful. But it also begs the question, when does a game become too cinematic for its own good? And if Kojima's style is something more of an acquired taste? And when we sit down to play a Hideo Kojima game, are we still playing a video game? Or are we just pausing the movie to occasionally walk across the sand? To understand the man behind the playable movie, we have to take a peek inside his mind, which, fair warning, is a bit like trying to analyse a dream after eating a questionable amount of cheese, or something like that. Now, Hideo Kojima isn't just a game director, he's a self-proclaimed auteur, a man who once tweeted, 70% of my body is made of movies. For Kojima, cinema isn't a reference point, it's a language. One he's been trying to teach gamers to speak since the PlayStation 1. From the moment Metal Gear Solid opened with a full-blown cinematic sequence in 1998, Kojima made it clear he wasn't interested in keeping games in their lane. Cutscenes weren't a break from gameplay, they were an integral part of it. Both the following Metal Gear games also had lengthy introductory cutscenes before handing you full control. And for those of us that stuck with the series, we were rewarded in Metal Gear Solid 4 with an outro that stretched well over an hour. But here's the thing, this was never accidental. Kojima grew up devouring Western and Japanese films in equal measure, works that value mood, symbolism and slow deliberate pacing. In interviews, he's often said he wanted to be a film director first and only pivoted to games because it was the more viable medium. But instead of leaving his cinematic ambitions behind, he just brought them with him. And at one point, that vision was revolutionary. Metal Gear Solid didn't just blur the barrier between movies and games, it kicked them down. Players weren't just controlling a character, they were starring in a full-blown espionage drama. The use of voice acting, direction, editing, and fourth wall breaking flourishes made Kojima's name legendary, not just as a director, but as a visionary. So by the time Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 released, Kojima wasn't just known for his style, he was celebrated for it. He had built a legacy out of pushing players to engage emotionally through long, deliberate storytelling, and in the early 2000s, many of us, me included, loved him for it. In many ways, Kojima sees games not as a departure from cinema, but its evolution. Not because games are interactive movies, which is a term he's pretty much resisted, but because they can in a sense let you experience a movie, not just watch it. So when Death Stranding 2 devotes long stretches to scenes of Sam trudging through a collapsing world or Higgs monologuing about extinction, that's not padding. That is the experience. It's Kojima inviting you to feel the scene, not rush to skip it. But here's what I often find myself asking. Is Kojima still pushing storytelling forward at this point? Or is he just so in love with his own vision that he's forgotten that some people play games to, well, play?
It's the good old-fashioned boss fight. Collaboration. The eternal choice.
By now, you know what you're signing up for with a Kojima game, but Death Stranding 2 doesn't just walk the same path as his old works, it doubles down, both literally and metaphorically. It's the culmination of every indulgence and every directorial itch he's ever wanted to scratch. In the first few hours alone, Death Stranding 2 unloads a flood of exposition, character reunions, and cryptic monologues. It's like binge watching the premiere of a TV series, only this one occasionally hands you a controller. And yet, it's not just about storytelling, it's about control, or rather the withholding of it. Unlike something like, say, God of War, where narrative and gameplay are tightly interwoven, Death Stranding 2 often shifts into film mode without warning. You'll walk for miles, then get swept into a 10-minute scene that feels like the final act of a Christopher Nolan film, with your role reduced to pressing the skip button, if you so choose. Now, when I was first thinking about how to approach this video, I was going to center it around the idea that this very tension between player agency and authorial vision is at the heart of why Kojima remains so polarizing. And sure, it partially is, but with Death Stranding in particular, there's one major reason why it fits more into this mold than any Kojima game before it.
今のゲームはお互いそれで自分が一番世界で強いっていうことを示すために世界中のプレイヤーと戦う、棒と殴ったり銃で撃ったり、あるいは、ものすごいでかい敵に対してみんなで協力してそいつを銃で撃つっていうゲームしかないんですけど、このゲームはそうじゃなくて縄っていうつながるっていう、その見えない人たちとつながって人のために何かをしてそれのお礼を言わせるって言って、これを最初にうちの最初に参加したスタッフたちに説明するとほとんどネガティブでした。そんなことを誰もしませんと。ゲームの世界では自分が一番強いとか自分が目立ちたいからやるんですと。人のために何かをするなんてことはありませんと。ほとんどの人がネガティブでした。
If you ask someone why they bounced off Death Stranding, odds are their primary gripe is going to be the gameplay. Because while Death Stranding's cinematic flair draws mostly positive attention, it's the core gameplay loop that often loses people. Now for some fans, this is meditative, even profound. But for everyone else, it's a glorified delivery simulator. In the Metal Gear Solid series, the trade-off was clear. Yes, you'd sit through long, winding cutscenes, but in between you got tightly designed stealth gameplay, gadget experimentation, and adrenaline-fueled boss fights. Even Death Stranding 2, while more polished, doesn't radically reinvent the formula. It expands it like many sequels usually do, by adding more tools, more traversal options, a little more combat, and sure, you can easily go online right now and pull up videos of people demonstrating how much you can do gameplay wise, but just like its predecessor, at its heart it's still about navigating and enduring the harshness of a fragmented world, which for some is thematically rich, but for others, practically exhausting.
He is not someone that just sort of rinses and repeats. He really tries to reinvent how the game is played, but overarching all that is this view that he wants to communicate something to the player. He really has a message that he wants to deliver in every game that he hopes translates to the player. Like every game he makes, there's a reason behind making the game.
The slow pace and movement, the balance system that causes you to topple over if you sprint too fast. These aren't just mechanics, they're part of the message. The world is broken, connection is hard. Your role as Sam is to restore it, one footstep at a time. Kojima does indeed have a message he wants to convey, but conveying that message requires a player to buy in fully. And not everyone does.
Y'all can fuck off. No?
Plenty of gamers who once enjoyed Kojima's stories in Metal Gear find themselves feeling disconnected here, because the fun of sneaking past guards or pulling off a perfect takedown has been mostly replaced by stress over whether your boots will wear out or not before you hit the next outpost. For them, the cinematic indulgence is no longer justified by compelling gameplay. The reward isn't exciting action, it's the chance to watch yet another lengthy cutscene, and for some, that's just not enough. So when critics or fans call Death Stranding a walking simulator, it's a reflection of how gameplay and story no longer feel in balance. For a game with so much ambition, that's its greatest contradiction. The moments meant to be immersive can instead push players out, and for some, that's a feature, but for others, it's a flaw. And whilst I can't honestly say I know what the man spends his time looking at online, let's not pretend Kojima doesn't know the criticisms. I'm fairly certain he's heard all of the FedEx jokes, he's seen the memes, but instead of pivoting away from them, with Death Stranding 2, it's abundantly clear he's decided to lean in.
監督、
はいはい。
どうしてオフ
いや
ァーしたんですか？
彼女がデスストやってるのを見まして、おええやないかと思って、ちょっとびっくりしてしまいました。なるほど、この人気はわかるわと思って。
はあ。
嬉しい。
でもゲーム内に登場させるというアイディアは。
はい。いや好きなのは何でも入れますよ。
If I like something, I'll add it in. That's not just a design philosophy, it's practically the mission statement behind Death Stranding 2, maybe more so than anything Kojima's done before. The inclusion of a popular VTuber in a modern day AAA title in any capacity is wild enough on its own. Most directors, if they dared at all, would relegate such a character to a quick Easter egg or a blink and you miss it side quest at best. But Kojima is Kojima. So Pekora isn't a hidden nod, she's canon. You have to meet her, she's part of the main quest required to complete the game. And somehow it gets even more unhinged. You're delivering a pizza to her, and that pizza, well, it comes from a chef played by none other than Mamoru Oshii, the legendary director of the Ghost in the Shell movie. And his role, not just a cameo, he's involved in a full-blown action sequence where he's fighting Sam literally over the disrespect of pizza.
God damn.
Now, some people see these inclusions as signs Kojima's gone too far, but to me, Death Stranding 2 isn't a departure. It's just the most high budget, high commitment version of what Kojima's always done. He's always wanted to say something, to send a message to the audience, but doing it his weird, wacky, theatrical way. And while it might look absurd on the surface, he always tries to root that absurdity in the world itself. It's never weird just because. There's always a logic to it. It's just his logic.
I think Hideo Kojima is a very strange man. I think he likes to tell stories in a way that is bizarre, that is not usual.
It's in the uncanny valley between like comedy and like extreme earnestness. Like, I just really can't tell if it's like a joke or not. I'm just like is he fucking serious right now? Like, is this real? It's like profoundly funny, but also like deeply sad.
Now, let's be honest, Kojima is pretty stubborn in his ideals, but it's that very stubbornness that draws people like myself even further in. Because Death Stranding 2 isn't just weird, it's committed. The lore is dense, the themes are heady, the characters deliver monologues like they're auditioning for the stage, and through it all, the cinematics, crafted with Hollywood caliber precision, hit. Regardless of our opinions on the gameplay, very few can deny that the cutscenes in this game are amongst some of the best we've ever seen. Every single action sequence with Tomorrow was an absolute treat to watch, not just because of the action itself, but because of how that action was married to the music, and how that music was crafted so masterfully that it enhanced every moment the way I believe all musical scores always should. And combat aside, even the sequences like the story of Rainy are directed beautifully in a way that's hard to ignore. This is, in my view, Death Stranding's true power. Its story and the presentation of that story is so powerful that, good gameplay or not, it's difficult for anyone who appreciates artistic effort to completely dismiss it. It's this kind of performance and visual storytelling that reminds you why Kojima insists on treating his games like cinema, because when it works, it really works. And that's the thing, players who stick with Kojima, we aren't just tolerating the eccentricities, we're indulging in them. Not necessarily out of blind loyalty, but out of a shared appreciation for what he's doing, because beneath the self-serious monologues and surreal imagery, there's sincerity. Kojima is sincerely trying to say something about connection, about loneliness, and about the end of things and what might come after. In a world of algorithm-driven design and content roadmaps, a game like Death Stranding 2 feels deeply personal. So yes, one could argue it's little more than a playable movie. Yes, you could insist that it tests your patience, it certainly did for me at times, but it also gives you moments no other game would even dare to attempt. Whether you like it or not, you know when you're playing a Kojima game, and in an industry that I personally find to be all too obsessed with homogenized design, that's a statement in itself. And maybe that's why many of us keep coming back. Because even if Kojima's doing a bit too much sometimes, well, at least he's doing something.
ヒデオ小島ゲームってついてるのは全部自分で最後まで全部やってますっていう宣言ではあります。でヒデオ小島ゲームっていうことで、手を抜けないというか。